This week, we check out a Nicholas Holt movie where he plays a foppish goon to an ailing Queen Anne who, despite a gangrene leg, is bedding down ladies left and right and giving us a cautionary tale about love and power in the early 1800s. Sure, we've seen it all before, but have we seen it with wide-angle lenses that would make a toy machine video jealous? I don't think so. Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's been hitting himself in the face with a book all day. Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
What's Toy Machine?
That's a skateboard company. And he's always the favorite, Bruce Leslie.
Hey, the Colonel is back again.
Oh, yeah. Make sure that you ain't got no warrants out, because Colonel Leslie's going to be on your tail like nobody's business, boy. We are back, everybody. This week, we continue on our series with Nicholas Holt, as voted on by our Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And we're checking out 2018's The Favorite this week from director Yorgos Lanthimos. Man, we're almost going through his entire filmography in no short time here, yeah?
Yeah.
Next week, Dogtooth.
Listen, we gotta be happy at some point, Bruce. Will you give us a moment for like just a glimpse of like now comparatively to his other movies though, this one does have a good amount of laughs and stuff in it. He has been getting more humorous, outright humorous in his movies as time goes on and everything.
Poor Things, I think, was really spot on with the comedy for me. So
it's like each one he's kind of taking it up a little bit, and like it feels like he's getting brave enough to kind of go like, this is funny. I think this is funny, even though maybe it's a little dark humor, but it's certainly, it's humor. But we want to we'll get through all of that good stuff here, and of course Nicholas Holt being his looking like from Amadeus in this one, which I thoroughly enjoy, all of that kind of good stuff. And we'll get into the fun music and all that kind of mess and stuff. Before we do, hey man, how about you go over to the YouTubes there and subscribe to us? We got a whole bunch of stuff out there, including a review of Novocaine, the new movie with Jack Quaid in it and everything. And let me tell you, it's what you wanted Love Hurts to be.
Oh wow.
Yeah. What the type of fun that you wanted to have with Love Hurts, Novocaine actually does. You buy the romance between the characters and everything. The action is a whole lot of fun, and so check out my review over at the YouTube page there, everybody. Links are in the show notes. We really appreciate that. Leave a comment for your mom, all that kind of good stuff. Well, let's get into it, fellas. I'm sorry, patreon.com/HMP. I just want to mention that one more time. And just remember, if Mark Maron saw you on the street, he'd hate you, but not us. We love you. Patreon.com. Let's get into it, boys. Here is the IMDb plot line for The Favorite. As we all know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. In the early 18th century England, the status quo at the court is upset when a new servant arrives and endears herself to a frail Queen Anne. This is written by Deborah Davis. This was her first work. She would actually go on to helm a Marie Antoinette television series just after. And Tony McNamara, who's done a ton of TV writing. He also went on to do Cruella with Emma Stone just after this, and of course wrote Poor Things as well with our director Yorgos Lanthimos, who just did, as he said, The Lobster, The Killing of Sacred Deer, Poor Things, and his latest, Kinds of Kindness, which I have yet to see.
Me too.
Starring Rachel Weisz, Emma Stone, Mark Gatiss, and our subject, of course, this month, Nicholas Holt, and in her Oscar-winning performance, Olivia Colman as Queen Anne. Now, Bruce, you would this was your recommendation.
Yes.
Explain yourself.
Well, let's see where to start. I had to come up with something that Nicholas Holt was in. I wanted to pick something interesting to talk about. This is a movie that I had really no interest at all in watching till I was on a flight, either on my way to or back from Ireland back in 2018, when this was pretty fresh. So in one flight, I watched this and I watched the Mary Queen of Scots movie like on the same flight back to back. And it's crazy how two movies in a similar time period can be so different in what they're trying to communicate.
Vastly.
History.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can get more different than these two, except for if somebody showed up in this movie with an electric guitar, that'd be about the only thing that I think could make it that much different.
And weren't they both in theaters at the same time? Like, I'm sure people
it's near
tickets
it, yeah.
Tickets to one expecting to see the other. I think there were probably some folks who were really surprised by this movie.
We go in some odd swaths where there'll be like things like this, and like you said, your Mary Queen of Scots and like your Little Women and like certain little period pieces and stuff like that. There'll be a they always have little hot moments every couple of years where all of a sudden you'll have like 5 or 6 of them out there out of nowhere, and they're usually fairly decent by and large.
But it's just an interesting time. I love period pieces too. I love the architecture. I love the set dressing. I love the costumes. I just love anything that's historical fiction like this. And just thought there'd be a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I saw this in the theater. There had been like kind of a lot of buzz and stuff about it. And it was one of those, when you see it, it's just like, this is a movie that if you can see it on a big screen, it's really awesome because of the way that it's shot and everything with the super wide angle lenses and whatnot. Yeah. So just having a super big image in front of your face just makes it's like watching an IMAX movie because of this super wide angle lenses and stuff.
I think it got 10 Oscar noms, so it was pretty well received.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was going to win a whole bunch of Oscars and stuff. I mean, especially for everything from like your cinematography to, your set design and stuff like that to, even
I was
directing.
Surprised. I think it only went home with one, but I thought costumes, there were a lot of things I thought it was a lock for.
Yeah, I mean, Olivia Colman just won for best supporting actor.
They got the most important one right. Yeah. I mean, Olivia Colman deserves all of the awards for her role in this movie.
She is so good in this, carries it on her shoulders. I'm trying to think of, for me, I struggled to even think of like bigger name actors that could have done this and done it justice.
Not to the level that she's doing it in this. Like she, I can think of a lot of actresses who are like of the same level of actor that Olivia Colman is. I can't think of many actresses who also are not in the least bit afraid to look awful on screen, be funny, and be able to do the dramatic stuff. Like there's so many things that she has to accomplish in this movie.
I mean, I don't know if this is fair or not, but I kind of saw her as like a British Kathy Bates. I mean, she really brought a certain energy to it.
Yes. Yep. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So you'd never seen this one before, Sean. This is the first time for you. Yeah.
Not only have I not seen it, I had never even heard of this movie.
Really?
Never. It's one of those movies that just hit my blind spot, as you guys know, unless, there's outside circumstances. I'm not ever watching award shows. I hate award shows with a passion. And so like, I don't care. And so I knew Olivia Colman had won an Oscar. I just figured it was for one of the 15 things she's been in that she's literally the best part of the thing that she's in. Mm-hmm. And I had never even heard of this movie. So when you told me last week it's Yorgos Lanthimos, which I liked everything that he's done except for the Killing of a Sacred Deer, which is a movie no one should view. I think that I just like the chances that he takes. I love that he's not afraid to be silly. I love that he's like, look, we're going all in. Like this is what I see this movie is, and you're either with me or you're not. And I am a sucker for that. I always have been. And so seeing him like the Lanthimos treatment for this style of like royal, I don't even know what to call it because it's Queen Anne. So like, what is that era called?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Sorry.
No, I don't know either. So like, this Queen Anne period is like,
I think it's Baroque. Isn't that the music that we're listening to? I think.
Oh man, some of the music we're listening to, which boy, that'll be a good discussion. Let's put a pin in that and we'll circle back to it. But I don't know the term that they use in England. I mean, this is just getting ready to hit the Industrial Revolution. This is early 18th century. We're only about 200 years post English Reformation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real interesting time. What I would call it is the sort of the last days of decadence for European monarchies, because next thing you know, you've got the French Revolution, the American Revolution, a very anti-monarch sentiment starts going across Europe. So, obviously, there was a point where they couldn't keep wearing the ridiculous wigs and makeup. And this is kind of that last hurrah, racing ducks, not realizing how much power is slipping away from the monarchies in Europe.
Right.
Big fan of the duck racing. So what a cool, interesting, neat looking scene and stuff. And what I like in this movie is like what some people might get mad at this statement, but I don't care. It's like this movie is like, what if Barry Lyndon was fun?
I love that. That's perfect.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's so good.
And I'm normally a Kubrick fan, but I'm with you.
I am too, and that's like I that's I know it's gonna poke a couple people when I say that, but
yeah, how do I know you're a pompous ass about movies? You say how much you love Barry Lyndon.
I wasn't done talking about the ducks though.
It's a beautiful movie, but it's boring as sin.
It is the most boring movie in the world.
This movie is absolutely beautiful to look at. Also dirty to look at sometimes, but it has that same kind of like very naturalistic cinematography.
Yes. Well, now everything is that way. Now everything is shot like that. We're like, yeah, we're in a cave. There's no natural light in a cave. Well, guess what, guys?
We need something.
Let's save on film and just do sound only on a black screen.
You get those little the little white eyes coming in like in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
That would be amazing. Yes, please.
Just kind of boop, boop, boop.
Or if you know that one scene in Skin Deep, that would be nice.
That's funny, man. I don't know why Blake Edwards keeps popping up, but like his movies keep popping up recently. And it started with Adam's thing about the sequel to the Pink Panther.
Oh, yeah, Blake Edwards.
That guy does some good work. Now, Sean, you kind of mentioned it here. Yorgos is just kind of like there's no half measure in anything that this guy does.
Right.
He is so sure-handed with everything that he's doing, and everything that he tends to do, whether be it this movie or his other films, is very often odd, but he's going into it with such a headstrong manner that like you just have to buy it. You have to go along with it. I don't think you have a choice with it. And it as weird as they always are, it tends to kind of work.
And there's a thing too with him where actors just trust him implicitly, where if, some a lesser filmmaker were to say, okay, so this is what the dance scene is going to look like. Not a whole lot of people would be totally on board for that. And I don't want to cast aspersions here. I don't know the lady. I've barely heard anything about her. Emma Stone seems like somebody who is very difficult to be around on set. She just seems that way. I don't know what it is. There's just something about it. However, this is what their third, like they've now worked together 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah, 3-4 times.
And so like, somebody who is fairly difficult is like amazing. I absolutely will work with this person again, even though some of the most ridiculous direction I've ever gotten on a movie is from this guy, because it's going to be correct.
Well, and the thing is too, is that like, they have to work together because this guy does nothing but put this woman through hell in every picture.
I know, man.
Like that never seems like it's a good time. It's not like an Adam Sandler flick where she's going to be able to spend, 3 months in Barbados shooting a film. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, with all Adam Sandler's friends.
Yeah, it's like, no. You're going to be slogging down in the mud. Which again is also another nice little bit there at the beginning and everything. It's like, this mud stinks. It's like, no, that's shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're so out of it you don't even realize.
There's so much to recommend this movie, even if you don't think this is your kind of movie, because there is so much that happens in this film that even when you get to a point where you're like, oh, okay, so this is the main character and these are the bad guys and these are the good guys. No, you're wrong. That is not what's happening here. And you have to kind of like, once you start realizing who the good guys and bad guys are, you're like, oh wow, they really pulled that over on me. Like they really showed me.
And we're talking about good guys and bad guys, but is there a likable character?
No, everyone's a dirtbag, but because it's the whole. I liken this entire thing to just a chess game. It's everybody's playing, looking at all the parts on the board and stuff, and seeing what things will be advantageous to them and how to work, and then there comes a part where you do question. It's like, are your actual emotions and stuff involved with any of these things, or is it something that you fooled yourself into believing just because you have some sort of for lack of a better word, aspirations.
Yeah.
I also like how quickly it shows, like Abigail, Emma Stone's character, how quickly it shows her going from being a little bit bitter about her rude treatment to being really happy when she gets to be rude. And that's pretty relatable. That's a pretty real world thing, I'd say.
I do have to say they really do show that off too in that one scene with the fat maid, kitchen maid.
Yes.
Where, the fat kitchen maid treats her very poorly. So then once she has the power, she is going to treat her just as poorly as the fat maid treated her in the beginning. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like this is like, this isn't even going to be the kind of movie where like later on you're like, is this the spinning top at the end of the movie where like, I wonder, it's not like that at all.
I am going to ask, could we please refer to her as the Rubenesque maid instead of the
Rubenesque
FAT
I
lady?
said what I said, sir. I said what I said.
I offer up for your consumption, Rubenesque.
She's a fat ass. It's okay.
She had 4 Rubens this month.
Her.
Yeah, that's true. But it's just, and it's, to me, that's almost the hardest part of the entire movie, where it's just like, hey, go clean this floor. Oh yeah, by the way, you may want to put on gloves because Li's just going to eat your hand off. It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, she set her up for the kill there. Just terrible.
Oh my God, I'd have picked that bucket up and thrown it in her face.
Oh,
Jesus.
Didn't we have like a Two-Face character in the background?
Oh, that would actually, if you added one more
by the end,
layer.
we do kind of have that for a while in this movie.
Oh, you know what?
That's fair.
Oh boy, I like jumping all over the place, but that ribbon that she uses to conceal her scar on her face, that black lace thing, that's pretty killer costuming.
Agreed.
I want to start off talking about the visuals of this just a little bit if we can, because I mean the story's great and there's plenty to say there. We've already talked about it being beautiful and the big angles, but there's also some really cool camera movements in it too when they're outdoors and doing some of the things that they're doing. But I'm real curious on your guys' opinions on like the overall production design, the costumes, the locations, the decorations, because I love the interiors of the palace and the country house that they used for this. Like it just makes me happy to be, feel like I'm in that bed chamber with that really wide shot when you're in there and the rabbits are kind of running around in the background, just not really getting your attention unless you're paying close attention. But there's like always rabbits jumping here and there. They're not always in their cage. I just love it. I really felt like I was touring some old mansions and palaces and stuff in the UK watching this.
They everything is so ornate in these sets that I have to believe, I don't know this for a fact, but they had to be reusing sets from other movies and TV shows that had much bigger budgets, because this had a small budget. And one of the things that I know they used to get around that with costuming is that the woman who was the wardrobe mistress on the show basically made all of these costumes with her and her team with fabric that they just found at like thrift shops and stuff.
Yeah.
And they transformed it into what this ended up being. And that woman should be working for as much as she wants to work and get a salary that reflects that, because you could have told me, oh no, this came out of a museum, and I totally would have bought it. But no, like that big dress that Anne is in, that like the really big one, they found something on eBay that she then tore the seams out of and made a dress out of the thing that she found on eBay. Like, get out of here, man. That's crazy.
And when I think of costumes from this period, I think the peak, like the top of the mountains, probably Amadeus, that I believe we've referenced once before.
Yeah.
And this is on par with that for what I'm sure is a fraction of the budget when adjusted for inflation.
They couldn't afford to, that's how small the budget is for this. They couldn't afford to rent the costumes from Amadeus. So they had this lady just make everything. Just amazing. And when it comes to all the background stuff here, like, you know, there's a certain level where you're like, oh, if I'm watching a movie and I'm watching the background dressing, a lot of the time I'm like, oh wow, these guys are really great. But then you reach a certain level of ornateness with certain movies, especially a movie that's made on the cheap like this one, where it's like, oh, this is something that they're renting from somewhere. Like, and there's just too much in the background for it to be anything else.
Her main chambers with everything on the walls, how everything is kind of, you know, that almost carpeted doorway and all that kind of good stuff like that. That feels like they probably more than likely didn't design that. I think there's one shot in this or one room or whatever that looks like it was from All the Money in the World, the Ridley Scott film about the Gettys and whatnot. I feel like I think there's one shot in there. I could be wrong. It's like if it's not that, it feels very close to that. So,
Sean, have when you've been to Europe, have you like toured any of the palaces or castles or any of the?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that's mostly what you do. When you're in Europe, right?
Yeah. That's what I do. But I wasn't sure. Maybe you're like more fun than me. But anyway,
do I seem fun to you?
A lot of those places are already dressed pretty well too, though. Yeah, I mean, not all of them. You go to something like Blarney, and it's all just stones everywhere. But you know, there's palaces from this era. They tend to already be dressed. Like if the movies that shoot in the Hermitage, they're using the Hermitage as their set. So maybe some of that was here already.
But these are sets. Like where they're
the
inside,
interiors are sets. I didn't realize
the interiors are sets.
I have way more respect for it now.
They couldn't shoot because again, they didn't have the budget to shoot in like an actual castle. Like they didn't have the money
just for the exteriors then.
Yes, just exteriors. And they probably did all of that stuff in like for the main house. Like they did that in probably a day.
Hey Sean, let's have a fun one because I'm looking at this right now. You may know this, but Bruce, take a gander as to how much just a guess as to how much this movie cost.
Because you guys are saying it's on the cheap, I'm going to say less than 20 million.
15, according to the old IMDb. That is ridiculously low for a period piece of this size and magnitude. Wow.
I mean, just some of the scenes, they have so many extras in it. Even you expect it to be a bigger budget than that. I mean, because lower budget stuff, things feel empty.
Yeah, and these aren't no-name actors that we got working here either. You know.
Well, I mean, Rachel Weisz is your biggest name. And she's like, I mean, she's not getting out of bed for less than $3 million for this movie, I'm sure.
Maybe. I don't know.
2018, was she a bigger name than Emma Stone?
In 2018 for sure.
Because Emma's star has risen quite rapidly.
I don't know. Yes. I'd say she's still plenty big then.
Yeah,
I don't know. Time is weird for me. Like the pre-COVID stuff, I can't remember what's.
There was a large little interruption in there, and everyone's like, "What now?"
It's like we all had to we all lost our save point in the video game and had to start back from the beginning.
Yeah, I was like, with this movie being like 2018, it feels like it could have been yesterday or 15 years ago. It's really weird like that.
Yeah.
But it totally works for me. Like even this second time watching it through, knowing kind of where things go and how things work and stuff like that. It's just a really beautiful movie to watch. You just can't take your eyes off of what's going on because everything is just so odd and bizarre, and every choice that he makes is very interesting to where you're just like, I don't know what's coming next. You know, what's the next weird camera angle going to look like?
And our reason for watching this movie, Nicholas Holt, his costume, makeup, and that ridiculous wig is always on him. Like I thought, are we going to get the scene where the wig's off and his face is clean? Because we do get that with Masham. You know, are we ever going to see Nicholas Holt riding a horse in the country? Although the way he's dressed, it's hard for me to picture him doing anything like that. But the lady that made the costumes, do they have their own wig maker too? Because those wigs are glorious in this movie.
That's a good question. My thought though is the same thing: is how all the wigs stay as nice looking as they do. You know, everything else seems like it's gross and dirty and disgusting, but all of the wigs have just this beautiful, beautiful sheen and shine to them and everything. It's like
you hear the term powdered wig.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put the powder on it, and the powder like soaks up the dirt, and then they kind of put more powder on it, so that's how they kept their wigs looking fresh.
I don't know. These look like there were a couple black ones in here that I'm just like that hair looks really good. It doesn't make any sense.
Ground up pencil lead on those for the powder.
Do you guys know that Nicholas Holt had names for all of his wigs in this movie?
I love it. That sounds right.
The main one he called Barbara, or what he actually would call it is Babs. and he had like they all had feminine names. And so when the wig mistress, hair and makeup ladies, they had their own, the wigs had their own trailer because they were so important to the production.
Well, yeah, I mean they're like I said, they're flawless looking, most of them. That they're just like, oh, these are some shiny ass wigs. These things look nice.
Way nicer than what you get in Knoxville, Tennessee.
I would imagine, man, because any like this, maybe this is a point of pride. Any wig I've ever seen's been a real piece of shit.
Yes,
I've never been around what I would call like a really good wig. So like maybe that's a good sign.
Because you can't just go to a costume store to buy a wig. Like you have to go to an actual wig maker to get a good wig, and they are so expensive that when you get the good ones, like you put it on the little styrofoam head that goes into a box. It's expensive, man.
Your place starts looking like Joe Pantoliano's house.
Maybe I'll invest in a nice wig someday.
You've got gray hair. What are you talking about? You're fine. You ain't got to worry about that. You're okay. I think at this point, you know, if you're not over half gone, you're safe. You're in the safe house.
Oh, I just want a wig for aesthetic reasons.
Oh, you just
want one like Nicholas Holt has, just to wear to the park while I'm walking my cat.
You know that he wants that floppy cute boy hair from the 2010s. You know that he wants that.
Give me the emo. Give me a fright wig. He wants the collection.
Yeah, give me one of each. Go to the wig maker.
Laugh-row.
Can you do a Mr. T for me special?
He has to wake up half an hour early just so he can like make his wig selection and everything. Or are you one of those smart ones that sets it up the night before?
No, I sleep in the wig.
I sleep in the wig so I can get up. Wasn't there
that way when I'm late for work and it's all tousled, no one will realize it's a wig.
I feel Dolly Parton sleeps in her wig. I don't know why.
No way, man. The cool thing about Dolly Parton is that because she looks so different in real life, she can walk around and no one knows it's her.
That's probably very true. And I could also see her getting into that little egg-like thing that Darth Vader is in, and that's what brings that hair off. Thunk. Right on top. I'd love to see that, man.
Oh man, but watching Nicholas Holt in this though, I just think he plays this character so well. Like he really has that kind of razor sharp edge to him in terms of, you know, like when she's crying, he doesn't care. He's just about taking care of business. He has no time for the games other than to accomplish avoiding the tax increase, which is kind of a big point here. They've got to fund their participation in the War of Spanish Succession, which happened when Spain's king died and didn't have an heir, which is kind of interesting because Queen Anne doesn't have an heir. And when we get back to Queen Anne here, sort of the character that's moving this all along, she's a pretty sad figure, you know, historically.
No kidding, man.
Like the way that she rose to get the throne in the first place was kind of unexpected. Her father was the king, and he was deposed, but he didn't die and pass it on. He was deposed because he was too Catholic. And, you know, this is, like I said before, 200 years after the Reformation, and they're still pretty tense about that kind of stuff. In fact, while Anne was queen there, or maybe it was right before her succession, around the succession, is when England finally passed the law that you had to be a Protestant to be the monarch. But but her father was deposed by her sister and her sister's husband, William of Orange. And, she had an older sister who was queen. And, you would imagine that their children would be next on the throne, but they did not have any issue that survived to adulthood. However, while they were on the throne, Queen Anne did have a son who was still alive. He managed to survive infancy. So the son, like her father was the king, then he died, he's gone. Her sister and brother-in-law were king and queen. They're dead, they're gone. Her son was supposed to be king, but then he's dead and he's gone. She's the last living member of the House of Stuart. So she is the queen, knowing full well that she's the end of her house, because by the time we join her in this movie, she's beyond her childbearing years. As she tells us, she attempted to have a child 17 times and failed to produce an heir. So she knows that England's going to have potential anarchy when she dies. And I think you can see that she doesn't really seem to care about the country very much in her decision making. But she's such a sad, tragic character. And we've already praised Olivia Colman a lot, but I think she communicates all that pain and very clearly shows what a lifelong fear of abandonment will do to a person, because she really exhibits what are called borderline personality traits here, where a person is either the best person who ever lived or the worst, and there's no room for anyone else in the middle. And it goes back and forth with the same person, depending on their mood and how things are going, and we get to see that really well. Also kind of shows the tendency of codependency between a narcissist and someone with borderline personality disorder, because I do think Rachel Weisz and Emily Stone both come across as pretty narcissistic by the end. Just a lot of fun that they're having with psychology. But back to the true story here, there was a competition between cousins Sarah Churchill and Abigail Hill to be the favorite of the queen. However, no evidence of the hanky-panky, but a whole lot of competition for her love and affection before she died.
Yeah. But the competition was more political than personal. Like because once Abigail takes over as the favorite, Sarah, then she's the one who starts the rumor that Anne and Abigail are lesbian lovers. And that's how we got this movie in the first place, is because of those rumors.
Well, Sarah also, it's documented that she publicly threatened to release her letters from the queen. Like that was a public threat that was made. So that part in the movie is pretty well considered to be historically accurate. And most people have speculated, well, what could be in those letters that's so bad other than the queen professing romantic love or something? But I think the definitive history on this was written by Sarah's great grandson, Winston Churchill, because it's the same Churchill family.
Yeah. No, I know. A great grandmother to Winston Churchill. I think I got that right.
A whole lot of greats in between there, but direct lineage.
Yeah.
I thought the rabbit scene was really great. Kind of, it hit me more this time than it did the initial time that I watched it, and how like that was just this big giant, like you said, that whole backstory of her having all the kids and stuff, and so I basically got a new little rabbit here each time something like that happened, and what a really just subtle kind of sweet way to tell that story, and because this is the first time that she's sitting down with this new character and everything, and opening up about herself and stuff like that. That's really, I would say, the thing that starts their relationship down a more kind of permanent one, and everything is her kind of opening up like that. But really, really amazing, sweet little scene right there.
Yeah, it really is. This movie, if I can go back to the beginning here for a second. So, as someone who didn't expect what I was about to watch, like I had no idea what I was going to watch, really. I thought it was going to be more like like a Merchant Ivory style movie, even though I know the director enough to know like there's going to be something different than a Merchant Ivory movie.
Yeah.
But the walking into this, right? One, once you find out that your Queen Anne in this movie played women's softball, I was like, oh wow, didn't see that coming. and the big one is if you were to give me like say, hey, guess the over under on people using the C word in this movie, I would have been like, I don't know, 1, and I would have been off by 50. The C word is thrown around so often in this movie that you forget it's the C word by the end of the movie. Like that's how often they say it.
They're trying to indoctrinate you into their language.
It's so crazy, man. And they even use it like in ways I had never heard before. Like at one point, Nicholas Holt's character goes, well, you know, unfortunately, my friend is C word struck by you. I was like, whoa,
it's so,
whoa, never thought about using that before.
So casual.
Put that in the back. Yeah. Put that in the memory bank. What a great, what a great descriptor. And so like
how many very, very dry wedding nights would you expect to see in this movie, if you catch my drift?
Well, you know, that's another thing too, is that's kind of like when you see the machinations of this version of Abigail, the Emma Stone character.
Yeah.
When you realize, oh, not only is she just in the moment being somebody who's like, you know, like taking advantage of a situation, this is something that she has planned for a very long time. And that's really kind of the scene where you see it, where she's like, look, I'm willing to do this because it's going to get me to the next phase of my plan. And it's so surprising when you see it. You're like, for me, because it's like, oh, she like, you think you know who this person is, but the person keeps surprising you with just how awful she is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you see that angelic face of Emma Stone and you think like, well, clearly she's as pure as the driven snow.
And we put her through hell at the beginning and everything. So you are 100% on her side because, you know, it's like, oh, this is a girl who's fallen on hard times. You know, everybody's kind of taking a dump on her and everything. And you really kind of want to see her doing something. And then when she does, it's like, oh, wait a second. You might have been planning things a little bit longer than anyone might have expected, I think.
Right.
Yeah, she didn't go to the Queen's Palace by mistake.
No, not at all.
Now the poop, that was probably a miscalculation.
There's a lot of great use of the C word in this movie, but my favorite line in the movie has nothing to do with the C word, and it's where she's explaining to Sarah. She's like, when I was 15, my father lost me in a card game. I was like, what? What are we, this is the movie we're seeing? Amazing.
And
her description of the gentleman was better.
So good.
It's narrow, you know.
My favorite thing about this palace that they were in are like these, I guess they're not technically secret passages, like everyone knows they're there, but they're concealed passages. I love those like doors in the wall, and then they're walking basically through the walls through the palace so that the queen can move about unaccosted by her court. Come on, guys. Every kid's dreamed about having a house with secret passages in it, right?
Yeah, until you see the movie The Boy, and then that'll ruin secret passages for you. You'd be like, I ain't doing this.
How do they make us? How dare they make a sequel to that movie?
I don't know, dude. It don't make any sense. It's like no.
It's like you've already finished for The Boy to go to space.
We're getting there.
I'd watch that, dude. I'd do it. I would put money down, at least a $5 ticket.
So I have to say, because I wrote notes for this movie because I knew we would have difficulty talking about it. So like one of my very first notes is when Mark Gatiss walks in, you know, Sherlock's brother walks into the scene, and you find out that him and Rachel Weisz are romantically involved, and he gets that kissing scene with her. I literally wrote the note: Mark Gatiss will never get to have a kissing scene with anyone even remotely close to as good looking as Rachel Weisz ever again in his career, Good job by him.
It's you've hit the pinnacle here, my friend. From this point on, she's all downhill.
Yeah, you saying Mycroft Holmes doesn't get the ladies?
I am, and I think the way he's playing him in the Sherlock series is that he doesn't care. He does not want the ladies in that show.
No, I think you're correct.
It's but I mean, my God, man, when he reads and who's playing Sarah in this? Oh, Rachel Weisz. Sign me up. I don't even need to read the script.
Twist my arm, will you? All right.
My word.
We're going to need another take, Yorgos. Another take, please. Another take. I'm a professional, damn it.
In real life, I punch out of my league a little bit, but not like that. Holy cow.
Straight to the top.
Don't say that. You could pull Mark Gaddis.
It's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing where, like, if you saw it in real life, if I saw that in real life, I would have to shake the guy's hand. I'd be like, look, I don't know what you're doing, but really good job.
Good on you, buddy.
I would only have 4 words. He must be rich.
Right. Well, yeah. But I mean, yeah. But I mean,
nevertheless,
sometimes that isn't right. Right. Like, who cares? Like, that's why you get rich.
Yeah.
So that you can do that.
Yeah. You think Jeff Bezos really needs to work out?
Yeah. I don't think Jeff Bezos is like, he's not like somebody that where you're like, oh, wow, he seems like somebody who's so fun to be around.
Hey, I think we know why Belichick won those Super Bowls.
Hey, listen, this is all gonna work out,
born
guys.
Yet, but when she is, hubba hubba.
There's a 15-year-old girl right now that in a couple years is going to be really excited to see me on the red carpet.
15, man. I don't even think she was born when he won his first Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm with Sean on that. Because that was in the 90s, right?
It's like 99, 2000, his first Super Bowl.
Man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I knew a guy who played on that team. I got to wear a Super Bowl ring.
Cool.
Was it giant for your hand? That's not like any time that I've seen like a ring from like, a championship ring or something like that, there's always just like, this could fit around my wrist.
It looked oversized on my hand.
It's like, oh, this is a ring or a bracelet. I'm not sure which. Again, I love how this movie is shot with all these amazingly wide angle lenses and stuff, and we're just pretty much lighting everything from these giant windows that are outside and stuff like that. It is astounding. And the way that the camera moves so swiftly and smoothly and everything. From what I look at, because this was one of the reasons this looks so darn good, is this was shot on film. In like Super 35 and everything, so I think that's also,
wow, really?
Yeah, so I think that's also why they can keep it nice and tight, and all your camera movements are kind of very much smoothed out, I would imagine. But really, really good looking. I don't know how this, at least it was nominated for cinematography, but I can't remember what won that year. But I can't think it's better than this thing, man. When they're out there shooting the guns and all of that kind of good stuff, it looks so good. I can't get over how much they're doing with seemingly so little.
I know.
Because that's the biggest thing. I'm just like, where are we putting lights? Where are we putting lights? I don't see any lights. There are no lights here. No lights.
I mean, even the choice to shoot on film doesn't jive with the budget.
No, but here's the thing. With this kind of stuff, you have to. I think there needs to be more things like this that are either shot on film or, get this, they for the Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan docu picture that came out not too long ago. They shot that in digital, and then what they did was they actually scanned that out to film, and then scanned that film back in. So their digital thing actually looked like film because technically it was actually printed on film. Surprisingly, it works.
Oh, so it has a filmic quality to it, even though it itself isn't shot on film. So hold on a second. So you're saying that they shoot the entire thing digitally, then transfer the digital to celluloid?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then back over, and then obviously scan for your digital outs and all that kind of stuff. But it gives like the actual realistic, look, because it's the real thing, because it's coming from an actual chemical reaction and stuff like that.
Man, I can't even imagine what it's like to be like the colorist on that. That's got to be crazy.
I was just like, when I saw that that's what they were doing to accomplish that. And again, but the cool part is with them shooting that in digital, how they were able to do so much in very, very low light with the shutter down and everything. It's astounding to find out how they shot that movie. Very good stuff. But this movie is that kind of the thing where the cinematography is something that stands out to you just as much as any other character in the movie itself does, because how we're telling the story is a big part of it. And it's putting you in that spot. You know what I liken it to, actually, is, Bruce, you might have done this. Have you ever watched like a movie or something with the 3D glasses and stuff with your VR headset?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what this kind of feels like in some situations, because the VR stuff is shot with like your 360 cameras and whatever. So you just see a whole bunch of stuff, and sometimes a little fisheye sort of kind of vibe.
I did pick up on a faint fisheye on one of the scenes.
There's some extreme fisheyes on purpose.
I don't always pick up on that kind of thing, but I saw some that I could really tell it in the motion, but I thought it looked good. Like for some reason it pulled me into it. It was almost interesting.
They're all very much on purpose.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this on the larger screen. Like, I didn't see this in the theater. I saw this on an airplane. So seeing this on an actual, proper television set was really nice.
Oh, yeah. Now you can see the stuff. It's supposed to just kind of like, what is that?
Sent you guys a picture of the Super Bowl ring. I found it. So you can see the bulk of it on my little hand.
I want to mention the music in this. It's great. It's tension throughout the entire thing, and it's kind of just, it's poking at you all the time, just kind of just in the background there a little bit, and it feels like it's just ratcheting everything the entire time. Yeah. I love it.
It really builds an ominous feeling, when you get that just going on and on with just strumming one string on the cello or whatever it is. And just hitting that same string over and over again. The composer for the score on this did some creative stuff, but it also feels like he found a way to be effective on a budget, as it were, because it's probably easier to get one cello player to hit a string for a while than a whole orchestra.
We just got Yo-Yo Ma. That's it.
Well, hopefully you're not saving money if that's the one cello player you got.
Now, listen, if you're going to have one, you get the best one you can.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is we got Yo-Yo Ma. The bad news is that's all we got.
We couldn't afford the cello. We just have Yo-Yo.
He'll play it on his iPad for you.
I was reading through the IMDb trivia on this, and one of the things that somebody brought up is that this movie only passes the reverse Bechdel test because of the duck scene.
Oh man, that's my favorite thing about the ducks, is because the guy says, I've got the fastest duck in the city. He never leaves my sight. I love the idea of being so proud of the fastest duck in the city that you just can't allow anyone to snatch him away.
And that's the only scene where there is not a woman in the scene, and the men in the room aren't talking about a woman who isn't in the room. So passing the reverse Bechdel, I didn't even know that was a thing that anyone was looking out for, but here we are.
I like how
finally a movie that stands up for the dudes.
I like that he is also able to just be described as the guy holding the duck. Like, hey, listen, go. There's gonna be a guy that's walking down here who's holding the duck. Go get that guy, will you? That's how you identify him, as he's the dude that'll be holding the duck.
I wish everybody was that easy.
Speaker of the House or whatever. Yeah.
I wish everybody was that easy to spot. There's nothing worse than trying to meet somebody you've never met before, and then you go up to the wrong person a couple of times. But no, the guy with the duck, that I could spot.
Can't you just be holding an oversized lolly or something?
Oh, that's great.
That's how I want to meet people. Just looking absolutely ridiculous. One more quick, just another quick Olivia Colman praise here and everything. There are so many moments in this. from like her just kind of staring, just into like the middle distance there and everything. And we're just sitting on her face and letting the information come out to us. Man. And it was while I was watching this movie that I was just like, this woman's going to win the Oscar. Sure, shooting she did. But I could tell it when I was in the theater watching it, because I was just like, because you'd seen her plenty of things before. She wasn't an unknown actor by any stretch or anything, but she was just absolutely murdering it in this movie, and so darn good.
It's so weird to think that, like, finally she's in a Marvel television show.
Well, at least now it's called I've Got a Paycheck, and yes, I can now do the fun things. Well, fun might be relative if you're talking about a Yorgos movie, but you can do other things.
Oh man, I've got to check out more of her work.
She's great, man.
Just and one more, just Rachel wise, just fantastic as always.
I got some more notes.
You got a couple more? Okay.
Yeah. So I had to look a bunch of things up about Queen Anne because I'm a filthy American and I don't know a ton about her.
Thank you, because I did.
You do? You know?
I said thank you because I don't. You know I ain't doing no research like that.
So one of the things is that Queen Anne never owned rabbits. So that's already out.
Everything we've been told is a lie.
And we're already talking about how.
Well, technically, those were hairs. I'm just being an ass. I'm sorry,
man. It's like you're trying to set stuff up, and then like you got to come in and like, hey, whatever momentum you had, let me kill that. So Sarah, we already talked about her being the great grandmother of Winston Churchill, but she's also the great. I don't know if it's grandmother. It might be like great aunt of Princess Diana.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's that. Also, Winston Churchill named his wild child daughter after Sarah, who is the Rachel Weisz character in this movie. She's the one who didn't want anything to do with politics. Then World War II hits, and she helps with the cause. The second World War II is over, she boogies to America and becomes an actress, which I just find that so fascinating, man. I love that. And of course, it's Sarah. And also Sarah in real life was the reason why she fell out of favor with Queen Anne is because she was a really mean person. Even though they grew up together, Anne was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to be your friend anymore because you're so damn mean to me.
Well, Rachel Weisz does communicate the mean streak that Sarah Churchill had.
Yeah. And that is what I got. Those are the last of my notes.
Well,
I wonder,
go ahead.
They were, we didn't get to see the lobster race. I felt like that was really, really hurtful that they set up something as exciting as a lobster race. It didn't pay it off. So I just want to know how you get the lobsters to know that they're supposed to move.
It's like a pine box derby thing. It's just you got them behind a little gate there, and they just slide them down there.
Idea. You got to butter your lobster up before you
put a little graphite underneath your the tummy there of your lobster and just slide them on down. He's good.
Oh, perfect.
Now, if you had to recast this role that our great Nicholas Holt has in this film, who do we do? It's a tough one because
I've got one that would make me happy. I don't know if you guys would buy into it or not. He's a little bit older, but I think Dan Stevens is great in this movie.
Oh man, yeah, no. Dan Stevens would be awesome in this.
Yep, I think congratulations, Bruce. I think you just hit it right in the head. I don't think no reason to go any further than that. That is dead accurate. Dan Stevens would absolutely kill this role.
He was really good in Beauty and the Beast, so I know he could do it.
Yeah, that's true. You know who else I would like to see is that actor who Matthew Lewis, the guy who plays Neville Longbottom in all the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because he is when he was a kid, they uglied him up for that role. And the only reason why I thought of it is after I was finished watching The Favorite yesterday, I went to talked to Lindsay, and she was watching something with him in it, and I was just stunned with like, he is a really good looking dude. In real life, he is a very handsome man, and so he could do both. He could play like the weird, like, you know, the wiggy part, and he could also be the handsome devil. You know, like Nicholas Holt can do.
He was a little bit of a victim of like the reverse thing that happens with Hollywood kids. Normally they're like cute little kids and they grow up to be awkward looking, but he was like the awkward looking kid that grew up to be handsome.
Right. Yeah, just grew into that face. And I call that
the Jerry O'Connell phenomenon.
I was trying to pull the name and couldn't think of it.
All right. Movies only come in two forms, art or fart. Let's start with you, Bruce.
Man, this is art. Like, in the reason that, this ticks off all the boxes. If you're going to try to compare a movie to art, this one gets it. It looks good. It sounds good. It's entertaining. It's well acted. It's got, it raises questions about like the human condition, and it's got a little bit of a history lesson in it. I mean, this is great. I love it. Art.
John?
Yeah, it's art. And the people who worked on it are artists. Like that's the thing about this movie. You can tell the craft involved just by looking at it. You know, when we are living in a time where movies have never been uglier. You look at something like this and you're like, that helps the old peepers. Like looking at a movie where people are really, really just top of their game, good at their job. And a little hungry too. Like, you know, they're not just resting on their laurels. Hey, let's make $150 million chamber epic.
Yeah, you made this movie for $15 million. It's like you said, that an artist is the person that can pull that off.
Yes, and for the most part, everybody who were keys in their department and on this movie is just terrific at their job.
Yeah.
Sandy Powell, by the way, I looked it up because you were talking her praises, the lady that made all the costumes. Sandy Powell, you got your free HM plug.
There you go. Yeah, it's art all the way. I am glad upon this second watch that, like, at least from my memory, because I think I thought this was way more gross in my memory, this movie.
Oh,
because, you know, Yorgos can have some unsettling moments in his films, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember this being a lot more graphic and gross than it was, and I'm glad that it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was. Maybe it was one of those things where you think that you're seeing her leg kind of, but you're not. You don't really have any kind of, there's none of that stuff going on, which is good. But yeah, it is... it's a good one. You may not sit down and watch it all the time, but I would definitely recommend a good once for you. And for me, it was like $1 more to own it than it was to rent it. So
yeah, that's what I did too.
I was like, shit, for $1. I mean, I'll pay the extra $1 to have it.
I missed the boat. I rented it.
For $1, come on, man.
I didn't even look at the price to buy it. I just hit rent without really paying attention.
Normally I would too, but I was like, $1. I'll pay
$1 more.
I'll pay $1 on the chance that I might watch this at some other point. Maybe.
Call me a spendthrift. Also, this is like for people who are still listening, and you don't have much interest in a movie like this just on face value. I totally understand. Because anytime, like, if Anthony Hopkins is in a Merchant Ivory movie, I'm not turning that on. No, thank you. I don't need to know how Howard's End ends.
And then I talked very softly, and then
I've got a pretty good idea just based on the words Merchant Ivory, and that's it, right? So, like, when going into this, I thought that there might be a lot more of that in its DNA. But it's way more like Amadeus, which is an amazing movie, than it is like a Merchant Ivory movie.
So there's a story.
Check it out.
Speaking Merchant Ivory, there's a story where Quentin Tarantino was like talking like before one of his films and everything. This is like, maybe it was Pulp Fiction or something like that. I forget what movie it was. I think it was Pulp Fiction. But he's like, he was not supposed to be there, but then all of a sudden shows up just to kind of bias the crowd a little bit and everything. And everybody was excited and like cheering and everything. And he kind of tested the audience because anybody like that, like Merchant and Ivory, and a couple people says like, get the fuck out of here. It's just like these people fell for that one. What do you on about?
whenever anybody says like don't meet somebody whose work you admire, like don't meet those people, he is literally the first person I think of when people say that.
It's like it could go very badly.
He seems like the worst hang in the entire world, that guy.
You never know. You never listen, Quentin. I'll hang out with you. Sean might be on the outs with you.
I think it's a situation where the better you are at tuning somebody out, the better time you're going to have.
I am. I can, but I don't want to with him. So like I will see everything that man does. I love all of his work.
But you'll be damned if you're going to share a plate of lasagna with him. I get it. You're a monster.
To be caught in a car with that guy, you're in a 3-hour car ride with that guy.
You're going to the beach with Quentin Tarantino.
Good God, no.
Listen, I know this.
And we're talking a Florida beach, not one of the close ones.
He'd put lotion on your back. He's a good guy like that. That is it for this episode of HMP, everybody. We got some more Nicholas Holt on the way for you. But until then, Bruce, go plug something.
People can check out Werewolf Fighter on YouTube. A couple of folks have checked it out. Even the views are low enough that every view makes me a little bit happy. So if you're only one person, you go watch it. It makes my week, so go check it out.
Absolutely. Sean?
Go to my e-scooter tour video stuff because there'll be new ones up there in no time. Check it out.
Man, it is like when it's not raining, it is so nice.
Yeah.
This weather is perfect for that kind of stuff coming up. So good stuff there. Check out Half-Ass Movie Podcast over on YouTube, everybody. We got movie reviews from the theater there and everything. A whole bunch of fun stuff. And we really appreciate that. Check it all out there. Links are in the show notes. That will do it for this episode of HMP. Join us next week for another Nicholas Holt film called Young Ones. That's available on Prime. For Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress, reminding you to be a dirty baby and leave a comment for your mom below.